How's it going? I just carved this little mouse out of a 3x4-inch piece of linoleum, and I talked throughout the whole thing and explained my process and what I was doing. So please enjoy as you watch as me carve this out. Oh, and if you like content like this, let me know. It takes a little bit of an effort to get it done, so I would like to hear some feedback if you guys enjoy it. So thank you. I know it can be relaxing. It's long and maybe not everyone's watching the whole thing, but let me know what you think. Thanks. Enjoy. Bye. Hello, hello. I am working on a piece of linoleum tonight. It is a 3-inch by 4-inch piece of linoleum mounted, and I've got a little mouse drawn onto it holding a piece of cheese. I've got a couple projects in mind that I'd like to use this mouse for, but I just need to get him done, and I'm going to use a couple different tools tonight. Most likely I'm going to grab all my tools and put them on my desk real quick. This is the first time that I have recorded myself talking and not just answering Instagram Live questions, because I'm not on Instagram Live right now. I am just recording my process of carving this little linoleum block. So this is a tool that I don't use very often. The only time I use it is for linoleum. This is a smaller V-gouge. I find that the larger V-gouge can make the same lines if you just go make shallower cuts. But for this block, I'm going to try and use this little one so I can get a little bit more, I hate the word detail, but a little bit more finer lines. Alright, so I'm going to work on carving him out. So I'm going to start on the inside of the face, because I find that if you make a mistake, like if you slip and you cut a little bit too much, if you're working on the inside of shapes, you can easily adjust the outside of the shape to fit the mistake that you made on the inside of the face. So on the face, I am largely just clearing out areas. So I'm lining up the edge, the outside edge of my tool currently, to the lines I have drawn, just to clear out this face area. Now for that little squiggle, I don't want to lose that tool, I'm just going to set it there. For the little mouth squiggle that I have there, I'm just going to go in with a little smaller U-gouge to nail it. And then this came to a point which I don't enjoy, so I'm going to just kind of get it away. Alright. And then on the back side of that mouth squiggle, I'm going to come in with my smaller V-gouge again and just use the outside of my V-gouge to trace that line, to follow it. Okay. Alright, so that is, I've pretty much got that all traced away, lined out. Alright, so I'm going to go into the nose and take away what I don't need or want. Which is most of it. When I did the sketch, I had some little lines to indicate shading on the underside of the nose, but I'm carving so small, and what I want to use this even smaller for a project, so I want to minimize the areas that can get muddied if I want to make this smaller. Reproduce the image smaller. So I got rid of them. All right, so I'm just going to round off the edges of this little nostril shape that I've got drawn in here so it doesn't look so pointy. Sweet. Now for the eyeballs. Once again, nothing too special here. I'm just using the edge of my carving tool, my mini V-gouge, to follow the lines I already have drawn. Follow the lines. In a larger carving, I would do some shading, leave some lines where this eyeball is being overlapped by another eyeball. But once again, since I'm carving so small, I really want this to be a very simple black and white image. So I'm carving it to be that. If this was a larger image, like I said, I'd be doing a lot more fine lines that would just tend to look better for a larger image, so I can create areas of gray that I speak about. But it's so small. And it's pretty, it's a simple drawing too. There's not a whole lot going on. I am going to put some like fur detail in as I get closer to the legs, but up towards the face, it's not going to be the case. Face case. Alright. Now that I've got the edges all followed, I'm going to grab a larger tool and I'm going to clear out the eyeball. Okay, now for a delicate little action. I need to get out the whites of the eyes. So I'm going to come in with from one side and just very shallowly carve. And then the other side, once again, shallowly carve to carve out that little detail. Okay. Alright, I'm going to grab a slightly larger, not my largest, slightly larger U-gouge to clear out the face linoleum. And as I clear it out, I'm not just trying to get rid of all of the black spray paint that I have covered the block with. I'm also trying to keep the inner areas smooth so that when I go to print this, it prints as nicely and cleanly as possible. Alright, back to my V-gouge. Okay. His little bottom lip. That's not wanted. I'm going to grab my little U-gouge just to get this little point out of there, because it's also not needed or wanted. Alright, back to the V-gouge. Now here comes a little bit of fun. I've got like the edge of the face here, so I'm just going to do a little bit of a furry line. And then I'm going to come on the other side of that and carve it away. just so that not every mark that I make is completely planned. The beauty of doing a lino cut or a wood cut is some of the unexpected marks. I like to allow them to happen, but control them when they do. I don't want them to control my piece. I want to control my piece. All right, clearing out, clearing out, clearing out. Okie dokie. Now for the ear. This one I am going to leave like a little bit of a line or two. You'll see. You'll see what I'm going to do. This line that I just left right there, I'm leaving that as kind of an indicator of shade and shadow. And I'm going to do the same thing on the underside of this ear. I didn't really leave myself enough space to do it, but there's a little sliver of a line there, and that's okay. I probably didn't want to do more than that anyway. And then, that's too big, that's too big. Where's my small U gouge? Small U gouge, da-da. Clear out this little, what's left here. And actually, there is a little dot right there that I'm going to keep, because when I print it, I think it's going to be nice. Didn't plan it, it's there, I like it, I'm keeping it. Squaring off on that outside edge of the cheese. All right. Now before I go do anything else, actually I lied. I was going to say anything else. Let me do these fingers first because they're more delicate than the cheese itself. And if I leave them exactly like that, they're going to look a little pointed. And he's not a mean rat with claws. He's a sweet little rat with fingers. So I want to round off his fingers. And I'm going to do that after I've carved with the V gouge, just going in with the U gouge and rounding them off. And do it on this one too. Rounding them off. All right, I'm coming off screen a little bit. All right. There's a little divot right here. Let me just take that while I'm thinking about it. All right, back to my little V gouge, dropping tools. All right, back to my little V gouge. I'm just gonna once again go around the edges here on the top of this cheese. I've got the lines drawn to where I want them. And it's really, this part, with my drawing, I go back and forth and I'm thinking and I'm trying to figure out what I want to do with my piece and how I want to do it. When I'm carving, it's mostly meditative, which is why I've chosen to talk to you guys on this smaller block. It's harder to do this on a larger block because, not that I turn my mind off, but I kind of go into autopilot as I carve. And there's not a whole lot to talk about because a lot of it is just, you know, taking away the material I don't need. Okay, so follow this edge, follow this edge. I'm going to trace this edge around this little cheese hole right here too. I want to leave some of this cheese because I'm going to I want to use it to shade it slightly the closer it is to his arm, because it kind of sits underneath his arm. But I don't need it all. And I want there to be clean, defined edges. So I'm just kind of tracing around, letting the edge of my tool follow the lines that I've drawn. All right. And now I'm just kind of take like little straight lines over here. Out from under the arm to create shade. And then on this side of this cheese hole, now this is above it, so I'm not going to do the same thing. I'm going to clear this out very carefully so I don't take away material that I intend to leave and break a line. Very slowly. Round off this finger on the outside edge without cutting that cheese line. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Around this cheese hole. And then around this cheese hole. And then I got a trace around the fingers over here. I'm leaving some little marks, like this little mark right here. Little unplanned marks that will show the history of the lino cut, so to say. Alright, once again we're in the clearing out mode. Let me square this up a little bit. Square it up. Okay. Back to my smallest U-gouge. That's not it. This is it. For some clearing out. You've served your purpose. Now leave. Actually, I want to leave a little bit on the bottom here. Don't want to go silent too long. Like I said, in the clearing out parts, it's kind of boring. And it doesn't even have the cool noise, this linoleum. That wood has no. It's very smooth. Kind of, for my taste, sometimes a little bit too controlled. That's why I don't use it quite as much. I might go back into that that cheese and do something else. But for now, I'm going to move on. Alright. So, furry. Let's make some little fur marks as I work my way down. Little knickknacks. Alright. This leading edge of the arm, I'm going to carve a lot of it away. And then I'm going to do like this as I get down in between the arm and the cheese. Just to leave a little bit of information down there. Right. Top leading edge, I'm just going to go ahead and take a line out of it. But then the bottom edge, I'm going to do just little nicks. Little nicks. I have too much right here. Take a little bit more of that away. Alright, it's a little bit more hair. I'm going to take my smaller U-gouge and all of that is out of here. Back to my mini V. Little furry lines. I spray paint the block black so that when I do this I can take a step back and squint and make sure it looks like how I want it to look. so I can see the value that my lines are making together. And more carvy. Okay. Now I gave him a furry knee in the drawing, so I'm using my V-gouge to give him a kind of a fuzzy texture on this knee. As I wrap around. Okay. Using my U-gouge to clear out again. Oh, the linoleum is so much smoother and doesn't hurt as much as carving MDF. I often think about doing a linoleum cut, like for a print. I've done them before, and I enjoy how they come out. But it does change my work a lot. Alright. Same thing, I've got this kind of like furry jagged line. So I'm going to do that first down here. And a lot of it's going to be white, but not all of it. So I'm kind of... As I get close to that leg, I'm taking less and less material out because that leg overlaps the belly. Same over here. I'm leaving a little bit of my tool marks on this side. Then I'm going to come this way. It's not quite a cross-hatching, but it's like a reverse cross-hatching effect that I'm doing right now, where you double back on some marks that you made in the other direction. Because you're taking away, you're not adding. I'm sure there's like a legit term for that, and maybe it is cross-hatching. I don't know, but I think you understand what I'm saying. I give you credit for that. once again, I'm just gonna, let's see, which way do I want to go? I gotta go this way. I didn't want to, but it's the right way. Just little nicks out, and I'll go back and do it more towards the top, but I just wanted to get that feel correct. I'm going to clean up this line a lot smoother because I'm going to double back. I'm just going to leave it a solid line. By solid line, I mean I want that line to look like that. I'm going to take less and less away the closer I get in. To the leg. All right. Furry little knee part 2. Furry little knee part 2. All right. And out to his toe. And then I'm going to just do straight lines out from his body because his body overlaps his legs. So I want a little bit of mark making left there. All right. Tail. All right, so my rats all have the same kind. It's become like a little signature of my rats, I guess, for better or for worse. I like them this way. But they don't really have what you would consider a typical rat tail. It's somewhere in between a rat and a possum, I think. It's like a segmented tail. So, I know rats don't have tails like this, but I enjoy. So I'm just kind of outlining the leading edge and the outside edge currently for each little segment. And this top one's going to be too small to leave a whole much of anything. I'm just going to take little parallel lines, slightly curved, through the tail. Little parallel lines, slightly curved, slightly curved. And these lines, I'm following the cross contour of the tail to do it. Really, every mark that I make is informed by cross contour. If you don't know what cross contour is, you should, or you don't really have experience working with it. For me, it's been one of the single most important, handlings of my work, I would say, tools in my arsenal. What it can best be described as is, if you imagine there's an ant crawling on the surface of any object, and you're looking at that ant, the cross contour is the path that ant would take from point A to point B. So on a curved surface, if he's walking a straight line, that straight line on the curved surface is going to appear curved. If it's on a straight, flat surface, that straight line that the mouse would work with the mouse too. That straight line that the ant is traveling is going to appear straight. So so it's all kind of difficult for me to show you what I'm talking about. as I'm carving this mouse, but I encourage you to go look up cross contour and see if you can make sense of it and employ it into your work if you haven't already. And now, this is the least fun part of the whole process probably, where I go and I just line the outside of the character and just clear out all of this extra linoleum that I don't need on the outside. You know, it's the least fun, but it's also maybe the most rewarding because it is the final step in the process, but it is definitely the least thinking step. It might require some of the most finesse, though. When I get down to this knee, I'm going to kind of do like a zigzag line. I'll show you. That's probably going to be the most interesting and challenging, difficult part of it. I have drawn two little eyebrows above him, and I am going to carve around those two right now. Eyebrow number 1. Eyebrow number 2. I enjoy a good floating eyebrow. Very expressive. One of them's a little thicker than the other, so I'm going to thin this one up slightly. Alright. The tail, give it this kind of scalloped line around it. This is on the very edge of the block, so I want to make sure that it doesn't look flat. So I'm really kind of carving up until that point to round that edge off. Alright, back to scalloping the tail. And then the foot. And the other foot. Oh, and be careful when you're carving, because I did something just now. It wasn't too egregious, but if you notice that I've always got both my hands, maybe not always, most of the time I've got both my hands behind my carving tool. You always carve away from your body, not towards your body. You don't carve like this, because you're gonna, every now and then you'll hit your hand, and these are sharp tools. So, you know, just be careful. Linoleum is the material that I cut myself the most on. And when I say cut the most, it's been a while since I've cut myself, but cut myself the worst, let me put it that way. I've cut myself one good time on linoleum, and it was about 8 years ago now. I probably needed stitches, but I just wore a Band-Aid for about 2 months before it would stop bleeding. But it eventually healed on its own. Put a Band-Aid on it and just kept working. Alright, clearing out. See, this is, I need a little bit of resistance on the back of the block. That's why I like carving on the mounted linoleum, so that if I do need to hold the block, I can. The flatter linoleum becomes more difficult. I have a shelf liner underneath my block, and it acts as kind of a gripping surface. But sometimes that doesn't work properly. Well, it always works. It always works the same. But sometimes you get in a rush, and you do things you wouldn't necessarily do. Clearing, clearing, clearing. At this point, I should be like, clear, cue montage, and just put it into a time lapse, right? Maybe I will do that. Maybe I won't. Because I'm sure I'll still keep talking. It'll sound like this. Like little chipmunks. Fast forward. Not carving away from my hand, but my finger was pretty far away at that point, so. And if you do notice too, along with if I have my fingers in front of the tool like this, I've got it lower on the block, and then I've also got my thumb kind of pushing back on it as a resistance so I don't slip, just to keep it very controlled. See, I just moved my finger out of the way there. Keeping it low on the block in case it happens. Although this tool is not very sharp. It could use some sharpening. Boom, 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 boom. And then over here, you know what I'm going to use? I'm going to go through and flatten all this out anyway. Why don't I just do that over here right now? Now this is just a flat tool. I use this, and I'm sure it's used for something completely different. But I use it to just flatten out areas, because if it has all those bumps in it, those bumps and ridges have the opportunity to print. So I like to take that away in the outside areas, and sometimes even in large inside areas, which this piece does not have large anything. I'm just kind of taking away the little ridges here. Try not to go through down to the burlap on the back of this, but if I do, it's not a big deal. Take this ridge away, flatten it out. Same here. Alright, and one last thing I'm going to do is take my V-gouge again, if I can find it, and I'm just going to go around the edge one more time just to clear it all away, so it'll print real nice when I go to do it. I just don't want any of this coming up when I print it. So I'm just I'm going to lower this whole background one more, not the whole background, but I'm going to take away any opportunities for any extraneous marks on the outside of the mouse. Now I don't like to do this too much on the inside of the mouse because some of the extraneous parts on the inside I enjoy. But when I want like a clean white background, which is most of the time, but not all the time, I go and, just clear out. I do a second pass with my V-gouge, so it makes the printing process easier and just goes a little bit smoother for everyone. A little work now makes less work later sometimes. Come down steep. Move to this corner. These little inside corners are difficult, and you have to kind of come in them from two different angles. That's okay. And that's a little high, that edge. So I'm going to take that down with just a little bit wider U-gouge. It'll give me less ridges. Same thing, just going to go around and use this guy to flatten it out a little bit. And once this is done, it'll be very good. Okay. I could go all day until I hit the burlap, but I don't like when I hit the burlap. It kind of makes it messy sometimes. Look messy. So I'm going to, after I get this little part a little lower, I'm going to call it done. So I do want to thank you for watching and hanging out with me as I carve this little mouse. I think he's quite fun, and I've got a good idea of how to use him, and I hope you guys enjoy that. Just clean. I didn't like that little bump there. So thanks for watching as I carved him out. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you.